might affect that. So please mute yourselves. Thank you.
And Miss Felicia, we'll get going in 1 or 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good morning, Haley. Good morning, Maya. Hi, Valente. Morning, Wanda.
Becky got a hello, probably from one of your former students.
Isn't everyone basically one of Becky's former students, myself
Yes.
included?
I love them all. Good morning to you, Latisse.
Good morning, Portia. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Wanda.
Good
Hi,
morning.
good morning.
Look at Tony. Good morning.
I didn't see Tony.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, Brenda.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Hi, Tracy. Morning, Latisse.
Good morning, guys.
Buenos dias, Deliana.
Buenos dias.
You're off this weekend, huh?
I'm in Puerto Rico right now.
All right.
All righty.
Awesome.
I'm just showing you a little bit of the sunshine here. Look at that.
I saw that
Nice
palm
and
tree.
bright, lots of plantain trees
Oh.
and mountain behind me.
Love it.
Wow.
Send
Morning, Valerie.
send some of it to us, Diliana.
Okay. I
Right.
will use sunshine that way.
It's supposed
Does
to
that make
snow.
this an international annual event then?
Kind of, yeah.
Just a few more people in the waiting room. Just spending a couple extra minutes for screening people as they come in for security purposes. Thank you for bearing with us and being patient. Just about 1 more minute. I'm sure Jen will let us know when she's ready to get started. The good news is it's Friday.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and have Miss Felicia Lane? We've decided to open our annual meeting with a very special CHW, our friend and our board member, Miss Felicia Lane. Hi, Miss Felicia.
Well, hi. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can see me. It is just a blessing to be here. I just want to say good morning and welcome to the 9th annual MiCHWA conference. My name is Felicia Lane. I am the chairperson of the Community Health Worker Network and MiCHWA board member. It is an honor and pleasure to stand before each and every one of you virtually, before my community health worker family, MiCHWA staff, and champions of community health workers. I just want to start off with a quote, and everybody that know me know I always start off with a quote, and I love George Washington Carver. And George Washington Carver said, "Where there is no vision, there is no hope." MiCHWA, there are many imitators, but MiCHWA is the originator. They saw a vision. Even when a community health worker came into my life 30 something years ago, MiCHWA saw a vision of community health workers. When people thought that we was just moms and dads from the neighborhood and we just got together, they had a vision. They saw that we was more than that. I just like to tell you a little story, if I can. Just recently, we lost a great man, and his name was Colin Powell. And my daughter called me and she said, Mama, she said he died. I said, who died? I thought it was somebody, you know, that we kind of knew recently. And she said, no, Colin Powell, remember? And I had to think about it. And I remember we had the pleasure of meeting Colin Powell. He came over to the Boys and Girls Club. My daughter was just like 8 years old. And I didn't even know she remembered him and remember that moment. And she said, Mama, he was kind. He told us to stay in school. He told us to work hard. And I said, yeah, he sure did. He was a kind man. He gave my daughter hope. Hope that she can do whatever she want to do, no matter the color of her skin, no matter mom and dad didn't have a whole lot of money. She gave her hope that she can go to whatever college, and not only go to college, graduate from college and get a scholarship. And that's what she did. Wow. So I say all this, I say all that to say this. Each and every one of you community health workers, you give people hope. You give family a vision. You give them the families that you meet, the community that you serve, you give them hope and a vision, just like Colin Powell gave my daughter a vision. They might not say it and you might not never know it, but you do. Because where there is no vision, there is no hope. Each and every one of you are special people. Everybody can't be a community health worker. My brother even tell me, you mean to tell me you do what? You go to people's homes and you don't even know? He's still like saying, Felicia, I don't know why you do that. I don't know what you do. People cannot be a community health worker. So each and every one of you are special. So today is our day. So I want you to kick your feet up. I want you to grab a cup of coffee. I want you to grab a cup of tea. And I want you to go on this journey today. You are my family. You my community health worker family. We're going to go on this journey. And I hope at the end of this presentation that you say that this journey was not in vain. May God bless each and every one of you and keep the spirit, keep the vision, and keep the hope in every family and every little child that you meet. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stephen Henry from Southeastern Michigan. And he is going to take us through the rest of our agenda and our day. Thank you very much. And may God bless each and every one of you forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Felicia. If everyone could, if you could give her some snaps for me. If you give her some snaps for me, come on now. Come on. Miss Felicia, where do I send my offering to you? You done gave us a message this morning.
No, I couldn't do it without each and every one of you. I stand on y'all shoulders.
Absolutely. And we thank you so much for that inspirational word, encouraging word, because we always need some encouragement. Miss Felicia, you always giving us a kind word. And so thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So hello, everyone.
Hi.
As you can see, I'm always a little bubbly, but my name is Steve Henry, and I am a community health worker trainer for MiCHWA. I also work for the Detroit Health Department as an employee engagement and development manager. But I never leave my title as a community health worker because I wear that hat all day. But I've worked with MiCHWA for since 2016. That's when I became a trainer. And this journey, as Miss Felicia has spoke on, has been a wonderful ride. It has taken me through to meet tons of great people, to be able to travel, to be able to speak before various crowds. It's interesting that this particular crowd, these are my peers. You guys are my peers, and to have 200 plus people to speak before on Zoom is something interesting. But I won't belabor the time. It's my honor actually to participate in MiCHWA's annual meeting on today. So it's my job actually on MiCHWA's behalf. I like to recognize the many sponsors for the annual meeting today. Your sponsorship will be a part of the ongoing efforts to support community health workers and will continue to advance Michigan's CHW's workforce through our training, coordinated policy change, and our long-term goal of community health worker stability. We have one champion level sponsor, which is Hamilton Community Health Network. Thank you for your generosity. We appreciate the love. Also, we have several alley level sponsors, and many of them are actually on this call today. We want to thank you so much. It's Blue Cross Complete, Health Alliance Plan, Michigan Primary Care Association, Intercare Community Health Network, McLaren Health Plan, Delta Dental, and University of Michigan School of Social Work. Thank you so much to our alley sponsors. And then we also have several sponsors, supporter sponsors, which are Michigan Association of Health Plans, Northern Michigan Community Health Innovation Region, Priority Health, and Community Health and Social Services Center. Thank you all for your support. Today, we'll also like to recognize all of the annual meeting scholarship recipients. Because of all of the generous scholarship donations that were made to MiCHWA this year, MiCHWA was able to award all 19 applicants with scholarships to the meeting. I want to give a round of applause that we have 19 applicants that received scholarships, and we're glad that they're on the call today. Thank you to everyone who submitted such a great application. You are clearly doing a great work in your community and your job. And last but not least, finally, the MiCHWA team thanks everyone here today. As it was stated, and I think it's still growing, we'll have 270 plus people on this particular call on this annual meeting. And it's exciting to have that many people on the call to learn and to be just on the forefront of this particular field as community health workers. You being here today means that you too want to celebrate a year of hard work and opportunities regarding community health workers and their integration in health and human services organization throughout the state of Michigan. Once again, thank you to our sponsors. Also, congratulations to our scholars, recipients, and just thank you to everyone on this particular call. And I hope that you enjoy your day. Be blessed, everyone.
Thank you so much, Steve. We really appreciate that. We also want to thank you from MiCHWA. As you see on the screen here, this is the MiCHWA staff. I am Jen Hars, the Interim Executive Director and Operations Manager. We have Portia Fisher, Education and Registry Manager, Nicole Holtz, Program Specialist, Montserrat Llamas, Lead CHW, and Kyler Fagan, Local CHW. And we have Summer Ort, our Project Manager for the vaccine grant. And we have Bethany Shea, our intern. And we're so happy to be here. You're here today. Thanks for being with us. Okay, Portia.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Portia Fisher, and I am the Education and Registry Manager here at MiCHWA. It's my pleasure to introduce our next two presenters, Dr. Edie Kiefer from the U of M and Tara Rucker from the Detroit Health Department. Edie is a founding MiCHWA board member, and Tara is a CHW with Sister Friends Detroit. Both are members of the evaluation work group that oversaw the 2021 CHW survey. And I'm going to add a link to that survey report into the chat for those of you who would like to take a look. Thank you very much for joining us today. Edie, I'll pass it over to you.
Actually, Tara. Thank you, Portia.
Thank you, Portia. Good morning, everyone. Next slide. All right, so I'm going to dive right in with the CHW survey background. This was the first CHW survey that was conducted in Michigan with over 239 responses. So our survey goals were to understand CHW perspectives, help MiCHWA meet CHW needs and shape the policy and financing agenda, as well as inform advocacy and policy change efforts. Throughout the survey, community health workers participated in survey development. The community health workers participated in survey development, pilot testing, and review of the report drafts. Next slide. So some of the values and support provided by community health workers in the community, some of the quotes were they stated that they established a food and pantry clothing needs resource closet. Many have made appointments for clients who have not received any health care in a long time or who have never been to a healthcare center. And then another reported that they were getting affordable housing for a family that was run down in an inappropriate home. So I'm just going to read some of my notes. Most community health workers agreed that the statements reported here were some of their experiences in the community health worker work field. Next slide. So these are some more quotes from community health workers based off of how they feel that they were supported and valued in their field by their supervisor or an organization. So I'm going to read again from my notes. These are some of the quotes here that was in that report. The perception of being valued as a community health worker, nearly all of them said that, nearly all community health workers said that they had a supervisor, that they felt supported in the organization. Most community health workers agreed that with the statements from organizational support, that they were able to reach out, they were able to call, they were able to get any information and have that continued support. And with one exception, that under half of the community health workers agreed that they had opportunities for promotion, which we'll talk a little bit to later on. Next slide.
Good morning, everyone. 86% of CHWs reported working full-time, and 83% reported that they're paid hourly. On average, they earn between $15 and $22.49 an hour. And this is a slight increase from what was reported on the employer survey last year. However, and this is an important point, nearly a third of CHWs who have worked in their CHW positions for 10 years or more still earned $18 an hour or less. Next slide. Tara, you.
All right.
Okay.
So, I apologize. So for career leadership and career advancement, 98% was the highest. It stated that they had opportunities to continue to develop their professional skills, which we thought was awesome. So this data shows that the interest in career advancement was high. Fewer than half of community health workers reported that they did not plan on being a community health worker for the entirety of their career, where the 80% stated that they were interested in continuing their skills for development. Next slide.
Nearly all of the CHWs indicated they had completed MiCHWA's certification training program either before or after being hired. And they also almost all reported having received MiCHWA continuing education training and belonging to the MiCHWA member registry. Next slide. 85% of CHWs supported formal recognition of CHW certification by the state of Michigan. And just over half of CHWs indicated that state-recognized certification should be required. It's notable, though, that a fifth said it should be voluntary, and a quarter weren't sure. The majority of survey respondents endorsed all of the potential benefits of state-recognized certification, with the most frequently reported benefits being helping obtain more stable funding for CHWs and increasing compensation for CHWs. Next slide.
So some of the potential reasons for leaving the profession, 59% stated for low pay, and then 52% stated that there was a job burnout for their reasons. Next slide. All right, and in summary, based off of this report, majority of community health workers responded to the survey were early in their career as a community health worker. CHWs reported low pay and limited upward mobility. CHWs expressed enthusiasm for leadership training and professional development opportunities, which I think is completely awesome. And also community health workers frequently utilize MiCHWA for certification, training, and continuing their education credits. Next slide. So we want to give MiCHWA sends many thanks to CHWs who responded to the survey, to the staff and students of the University of Michigan School of Social Work Program Evaluation Work Group for assisting in CHW survey development, conducting data analysis and report drafting, and to MiCHWA Evaluation Work Group for contributing to each step of the process. Next slide. Here's a picture of the Unity Conference of some of the hardworking, amazing community health workers that's doing great work in the community. And I, on behalf of all community health workers, would like to thank MiCHWA for your continued support and recognition in the community health worker community. So thanks again.
Thank you. Portia, can I say just a couple words? I think we finished in record time.
Of course.
What we presented today is just a little snapshot of especially what Tara identified as the most important things that we could convey in this limited time we had today. So there is a whole report, and Portia put the link up in the chat to the whole report, and it's massive. So there's a lot of information. And the next step, we're going to be getting CHW input as well as input from other allies and others about putting together an infographic that would convey some of these results in a little friendlier format. So we'll be looking for input from you for that really important piece of the communication of the results of this first ever CHW survey in Michigan. Thanks.
Thank you, Edie, and thank you, Tara, for your presentation and all your hard work. Really appreciate
And all the
it.
hard work of those who put it together.
And your team, absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay. Hi again, everyone. I'm Jen Harst. The second major MiCHWA accomplishment out of many since we last saw everyone at the last annual meeting is the 2020 CHW Employer Survey infographics. And many of you may already know that MiCHWA creates and administers a CHW Employer Survey every 2 years. And this effort is mainly driven by MiCHWA's Evaluation Work Group, led by our very own, one of our founding members and board member, Edie Kiefer, who you just heard from, and Mary Janovic from the University of Michigan Program Evaluation Group. The purpose of the CHW Employer Survey is to take a close look at topics that are important to CHW employers, including education, training, and workforce sustainability. So this group collected data from about 53 programs across the state, and those results were summarized by the University of Michigan Program Evaluation Group, and those results have been published on our website for a while now. But new for this round of the survey, the work group decided to create infographics for 3 specific audiences: the CHW audience, the employer audience, and policymakers. The evaluation work group, they worked on the content for the infographics, and a very talented, wonderful artist, Olivia Barth from MDHHS, created the infographics that we're going to show you today. And because on these infographics, there's a lot of information, it's very colorful and fun and neat, we decided to have them narrated by CHWs this year. We're using their voices. Thank you very much to Kyler Fagan and Jennifer Ferrari and Octavia Smith for loaning their wonderful voices for our infographics. So I will play these infographics for you now.
Community health workers, CHWs, provide unique and valuable resources that help to improve the health of Michiganders. The MiCHWA CHW Employer Survey is conducted every 2 years. It examines topics important to the CHW employer professional community, such as CHW education, training, and workforce sustainability. The 2020 CHW Employer Survey captured responses from 53 programs throughout Michigan. This does not include all the CHW employers in Michigan, and the response rates may have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Overall, survey results show that compared to the 2018 survey, CHW programs have expanded. CHWs have increased role diversity, and there is an increased support for CHW certification and continued education. One of the important topics of the survey is certification and training. Employers surveyed believed that certification through MiCHWA's core competency training is an important part of a CHW's education. MiCHWA provides the CHW training and curriculum that is used to certify the CHW workers in Michigan and has been offering that training for about 10 years now. 88% of programs require that their CHWs take the MiCHWA's core competency training, either before or after hiring them. That shows that most employers surveyed value and support the MiCHWA certification training in preparing their CHWs to make an impact on their communities. On top of that, half of the employers surveyed required continued education for their CHWs. They do this by way of continuing education credits, otherwise known as CEUs. That is great because MiCHWA offers about 60 CEU hours of education on its registry, both live and on demand. To learn more about obtaining your CHW certification and accessing continued education opportunities, visit MiCHWA's website at www.michwa.org. At the bottom right, you'll see the other important CHW employer survey topics. Workforce sustainability and funding uncertainty is the top sustainability concern. We know that program sustainability is an ongoing challenge. MiCHWA works hard to address this with its partners and stakeholders statewide. Half of the CHW programs in the survey receive the majority of their funding from less sustainable sources. For example, short-term grants and contracts. Short-term grants and contracts are less sustainable than other funding mechanisms because they are often time-limited. 41% of programs received time-limited funding. One of our respondents said it well above. We need continuous access to training and program building initiatives. On page 2 of our infographics for CHWs, you will see that employers surveyed think supervisor training, in addition to CHW training, is also very important. Many programs provide their supervisors with some training. The most common topics include understanding CHW roles and responsibilities, understanding the social determinants of health, cultural competency, and diversity. Some common challenges faced by supervisors include CHWs are in different locations from their supervisors. Many of you may be in this situation. Also, employers believe that more CHW supervisory guidelines and trainings are needed for consistency. Moving to the right of the page, CHWs fulfill many diverse roles in their communities within the training that they received, including connecting people to resources and advocating for basic needs, motivating and encouraging people to obtain care and other services, building individual capacity, facilitating transportation and helping address other barriers to services, educating individuals and communities about how to use health and social service systems. Moving down to CHW earnings. While CHW employers strive to maintain a high standard of training and education among its CHW employees, they are also aware of the need for competitive wages and sustainable funding. They report paying their CHWs an average hourly wage of $16.40 to $18.93. One employer stated in the quote here, "I would like to see a pay scale that reflects the worth of a CHW and the specialized skills they have that no one in our office could compare to." To wrap up this infographic, MiCHWA will continue to advocate for CHWs statewide by offering a high level of education and training and working towards sustainable community health workers, CHW earnings. While CH specialized skills they have
Sorry about that.
that no one in our office could compare to. To wrap up this infographic, MiCHWA will continue to advocate for CHWs statewide by offering a high level of education and training and working towards sustainable financing. Here's what you can do as a CHW to move us forward. Educate government officials about CHW roles and accomplishments and the need for sustainable financing of CHW services and program. Join MiCHWA work groups like the Policy Work Group, the CHW Network, and the Education and Workforce Team, just to name a few. Join the MiCHWA Registry and keep up with your continued education units. Follow MiCHWA on its social media to keep up to date with happenings and educational opportunities. Thank you so much for listening today. Our 2020 CHW Employer Survey is available for you to see on our website at www.michwa.org under News and Events.
This is our two-page infographic for employers. The top paragraph on this infographic is one that you've seen before on the infographic for the CHWs. The main point of the survey results show that CHW programs have expanded, CHWs have increased role diversity, and there is an increased support for CHW certification and continuing education. On the left, under certification and training, you'll see that employers think that certification through MiCHWA's core competency training is an important part of CHW's education. In fact, 88% of the employer programs surveyed require that their CHWs take the MiCHWA core competency training either before or after hiring them. MiCHWA maintains a registry of certified CHWs, and all CHWs are automatically added to the registry upon graduation. It's great that nearly all the survey respondents were aware of the MiCHWA CHW registry. Moving clockwise, you will see the reinforcement of the idea that CHWs serve many roles with the certification training they receive. They are busy connecting people to resources and advocating for basic needs, motivating and encouraging people to obtain care and other services, building individual capacity, facilitating transportation and helping address the other barriers to services, educating individuals and communities about how to use health and social service systems, in fulfilling their many roles. CHWs utilize the core competency training they receive in certification training. The core competencies they gain are in role advocacy and outreach, legal and ethical responsibilities, organization and resources, communication skills and cultural competence, teaching and capacity building, coordination, documentation and reporting, healthy lifestyles, and mental health. On page 2 of our infographic, you will see employers believe that supervisor training is very important, and they provide their supervisors with training in the following: understanding CHW roles and responsibilities, understanding the social determinants of health, cultural competency, and diversity. Supervisors face some common challenges, though, and employers recognize this, as some CHWs are located in different locations than their supervisors, and more CHW supervisor guidelines and trainings are needed. To the right, you will see the quote from one respondent who agreed that any additional training support is good. It is hard to supervise not being a past CHW. Above this quote, you will see again that employers are aware of the need for competitive wages and sustainable funding. 90% of employers surveyed report paying their CHWs an average hourly wage of $16.40 to $18.93 in 2020. Moving down the page, we want to reinforce that funding uncertainty is the top sustainability concern among employers. We know that half of the CHW programs in the survey receive funding from short-term grants and contracts. Short-term grants and contracts are less sustainable than other funding mechanisms because they are sometimes time-limited and they stop and start frequently. In addition to funding uncertainty, other sustainability concerns about the profession are finding qualified CHWs to do the work. 33% of employers say this, and staff turnover. 22% of employers say this is a problem. To close, MiCHWA will continue to advocate for CHWs statewide by offering a high level of education and training and working towards sustainable financing for all CHWs in Michigan. Here's what you as employers can do to help. You can educate government officials about CHW roles and accomplishments and the need for sustainable financing of CHW's services and programs. Encourage participation in CHW supervisor training. Provide opportunities for CHWs to complete MiCHWA core competency training and continuing education. Join MiCHWA work groups. Join the MiCHWA registry. We offer organizational memberships with perks. Follow MiCHWA on social media to stay up to date. Thank you for listening today. Our 2020 CHW Employer Survey is available for you to see on our website at www.michwa.org under News and Events.
Good day, everybody. This is Octavia, one of your fellow CHWs. I'm going to share with you an infographic for policymakers. The top paragraph on this infographic is one you've seen before on the infographics for CHWs and employers. It is the lead paragraph on all three infographics. The main point is that survey results show that CHW programs have expanded, CHWs have increased role diversity, and there is increased support for CHW certification and continuing education. Moving down to the survey highlights, the 2020 MiCHWA CHW Employer Survey contained questions on a variety of topics. These were the key takeaways gathered from the employers' responses. The value of CHW certification was supported by most CHW employers. There is still a need for more sustainable funding sources. There is a desire for additional CHW supervisor training and resources, and more uniform evaluation activities and indicators are needed. The value of the CHW, the first bullet, is summed up in this quote from the survey. I, as the CHW, handle everything else that no one has answers to. System navigation and local funding ins and outs, just a real person face to face that someone can talk to. Moving over to the right, you've already seen this in the other infographics, that MiCHWA's core competency training is an important part of a CHW's education. Moving down to page 2, it is important to note, again, that employers believe that supervisor training is very important and that they provide their supervisors with training in understanding CHW roles and responsibilities, in understanding the social determinants of health, cultural competency, and diversity. Moving to the right, we highlight in this infographic for policymakers what the average hourly wage was in 2020. Moving down the page, we want to reinforce with policymakers that funding uncertainty is the top sustainability concern among employers. We know that half of the CHW programs in the survey receive funding from short-term grants and contracts. We also highlight for policymakers what those top 3 sustainability concerns are among employers. One of the employers who responded to the survey said, if you look at the top left, that funding for CHWs remains an issue. The importance and value of the work CHWs is vital to the health of our communities. So how can policymakers support the CHW workforce? Policymakers can support MiCHWA's efforts to maintain standards for and assure statewide access to CHW core competency-based training and continuing education. They can provide support for developing and conducting CHW supervisor training. Create and support mechanism for sustainable funding. Designate MiCHWA as the organization responsible for registering CHWs who have successfully completed the CHW core competency-based training, and follow MiCHWA on its social media to stay up to date. Thank you for listening today. Our 2020 CHW Employer Survey is available for you to see on our website, www.michwa.org, under News and Events. Again, thank you for listening and have a pleasant and productive rest of the day.
Okay, great. Again, thank you so much to Octavia Smith, Kyler Fagan, and Jennifer Ferrari for loaning us your voices for these infographics. MiCHWA is working on the next employer survey. It's already time for that, and that will be launched in the spring of 2022. So we'll be looking for volunteers to pilot the survey. And of course, we're going to be looking for some great participation from some CHW programs across the state.
Good day, everybody. This is Octavia, one of your fellow CHWs.
Okay, Summer.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Summer Ort. I'm a project manager at MiCHWA for the Vaccine Grant Project. I've only been here since August of this year, but even in that short time, I've seen firsthand just how tight-knit the CHW community is. And I just want to say, again, thank you to everyone on this call for making this day happen and helping to make sure what we do here is so successful. The Vaccine Grant Project has been a huge accomplishment for us this year, since it's by far our largest effort, with the admirable goal of increasing the rate of COVID-19 vaccinations in Michigan communities, focusing on those that are high risk or underserved. This project started back in June and will continue on through September 30th of 2022. It really is an all hands on deck effort where everyone here at MiCHWA is actively contributing on a day-to-day basis, along with all of our partners at local agencies and health departments. We're very excited to see just how much we can accomplish over the course of the next year. With that, it is my honor to introduce Montserrat Llamas and Kyler Fagan. They are lead community health workers here at MiCHWA, and they oversee the field operations of this grant, which includes being the primary points of contact for each of the regional CHWs we are working with, and even traveling on site to help with data collection and operations and troubleshooting and everything in between. So Montse and Kyler, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Summer. So again, this is the 2021-2022 vaccination grant. My name is Montserrat Llamas. I'm the lead community health worker for this grant. And I'll pass it on to Kyler to introduce himself.
Sorry, I was on mute, sorry guys. Good morning, y'all. I'm Kyler Fagan. I'm the local CHW on the vaccination grant.
So just a quick breakdown as to how this project came into fruition. So the CDC gave MDHHS the funds. MDHHS reached out to us to collaborate to possibly increase vaccination rates and address hesitancy through the help of CHWs. We reached out to 5 health departments across the state, and they helped select their partnering organizations. The partnering organizations were given the ability to select and onboard their field CHWs who were part of the community that they would be working with throughout the project. Next slide.
As you see, this grant, this grant is broken up into 2 segments. Segment 1 was completed on October 1st of this year, and now we are currently in segment 2 of this grant. For both segments, MDHHS goals remain the same, which is to increase the rate of COVID-19 vaccination, especially among high risk and underserved populations, including racial and ethnic minority populations in rural communities. MiCHWA's goal for segment 1 was to increase vaccination capacity in underserved areas and to increase vaccine confidence through education, outreach, and partnership. On this slide, you'll see that MiCHWA's goal changed at the start of segment 2 from our previous goal to integrate CHWs into local vaccination efforts in alignment with MDHHS's goals while responding to training needs of CHWs for a variety of skills needed to support local communities in addressing barriers to vaccination.
Moving on to highlight some of our key accomplishments so far, our partnering organizations, Packard Health, Mission United, Friends of Parkside, and Mercy Health Project have each identified their CHWs who will be working on this project. The CHWs from Packard, Mission United, and Friends of Parkside have begun onboarding and their training. We've hosted daily data collection trainings with U of M PAG and have those materials ready and accessible to our field CHWs. And most recently, we have purchased the tablets and data plans that the field CHWs will be using for data collection. In addition, some of our milestones so far are that we have completed a staffing plan, developed data collection tools, and have contracted University of Michigan, PEG. We are still working on completing the documentation plan, completing all of our CHWs onboarding and training, and dispersing materials that will be created from the data collection.
The next few slides, we want to take a moment to recognize our onboarded field CHWs for this project, starting with our partners at Mercy Health Plan. Mimi Rankin has worked for the Health Project for over 24 years, and in her time there, she has worked on numerous projects such as Caring for Children, a program designed to capture children who have fallen through the cracks for health coverage. Mimi also has a radio show called Journey to Better Health, a show where she addresses the health concerns of the community. To the right, you'll see Jimmy Fox. Jimmy Fox has worked for the Health Project as a CHW for the past 12 years. As well as being a CHW, Jimmy has worked as a police officer in Muskegon County for the past 29 years. Jimmy is a past recipient of the CHW of the Year Award. And in 2011, Jimmy founded CLEAR, which is a men and women's mentoring program for the formerly incarcerated. For Michigan United, we have MiCHWA Gordon, who recently onboarded. And we also have Jennifer Johnson, pictured to the left. Jennifer Johnson is a CHW and a public health worker at Michigan United. Her passion and dedication to her community is a major reason why she was selected for this project. She is self-motivated and a team player, and is always willing to step up to contribute to the mission of both MiCHWA and Michigan United.
The CHW selected for this project from Friends of Parkside, who I'll be working with, are Javonda Robertson, Kimberly Saunders, and our most recent addition, Charles Johnson, who joined us this week. Javonda Robertson is actually a recent graduate of Cohort 81 from our CH30 certification training, so congratulations to her. Javonda has been involved in the Parkside community for over 10 years and is currently the president of the Villages at Parkside Residents Council. She has served as a volunteer at Eastside Community Network, Destined for Greatness, and Chandler Park Conservancy. Ms. Kimberly Saunders has been involved in the community for over 30 years as a participant in Youth on the Edge of Greatness, a community staff leader at Warren Connor Development Coalition, and a founding member and director of a mentoring program called Sisters for Christ. The CHW selected for this project from Packard Health are Cleela Horton and another CHW who will be joining us shortly in the upcoming week. Cleela Horton just recently relocated to Ypsilanti from Toledo, Ohio, so welcome to Michigan. Her previous work in Ohio included working in a community program for pregnant women at the Toledo-Lucas County Health Department. She's incredibly passionate about community work, and we are super excited to have her skill set and experience, as well as everyone else's, for this project.
As the lead in local CHWs on the vaccine grant, Monse and I have traveled and will continue to travel to our various partners to participate in their own vaccine efforts throughout the duration of this project. Some of the most recent site visits include a back-to-school event and craft fair with a pop-up clinic, food banks and clothing banks with on-site vaccinations available, as well as an LGBT Pride street fair where one of our partners had their own booth to give out vaccines and booster shots.
The team that we are working with to develop the data collection tools is the University of Michigan Program Evaluation Group, also known as U of M PEG. Those data collection tools that they have helped create and modify are short surveys and an interview that will help measure vaccine confidence and hesitancy in communities that our field CHWs will be working with. It will help assist in analyzing data generated from interviews and make regional recommendations for educational materials relevant to hesitancy or misinformation. They are also helping build CHW capacity through the data collection training. It's super important that CHWs are part of the research being performed in the communities and areas that they are part of and serve. So what you're seeing here is just a preview of what that short survey would look like on a mobile device. And you can briefly see some of the questions on the survey and what they consist of on the screen.
Along with lastly, we'll talk about training. Along with receiving MiCHWA's core competency training at no cost to the CHW or their organization, MiCHWA also provides a variety of trainings to prepare the field CHW for their new role on this project. These include master training consultations as needed, data collection training, which Monse mentioned was provided by U of M PEG, vaccine hesitancy 101 training provided by our partner at Henry Ford Health System, and Vaccine 101 training provided by the National Kidney Foundation. All of these trainings are available to our Field CHW via Canvas, our online learning platform, which also houses our online core competency training. We will also be having a live training with the National Kidney Foundation in the coming weeks on how to be a trusted messenger.
All right, so it looks like time purposes, we have a minute or two for any questions or comments that you all might have. And if you don't, we can go ahead and move forward. So I'll just give time. All right, thank you everyone for listening to our presentation. Again, my name is Montserrat Llamas, the lead community health worker for this project.
And I'm Kyler Fagan, the local CHW for this project. It's been a pleasure speaking with you all today.
Thank you so much, Monse, Kyler, and Summer, and the rest of the team who are all working very hard on the vaccination project until through September of 2022. All right, we're moving right along here. I know many of you have been looking forward to our keynote presentation. Our annual meeting theme this year, as you know, when you registered, is maintaining CHW resiliency and purpose in the face of adversity. And as Ms. Felicia Lane spoke about so well in the beginning, life hasn't been easy through this pandemic, and for some, it's probably been the toughest time of their lives. So much has changed, yet we are resilient, and even when we don't want to be. You're not alone. Our keynote speaker will speak to CHW resiliency and purpose in these challenging times. I'd like to introduce you to our keynote speaker. This is Dr. Jessie Kimbrough Marshall, and her experience includes primary care, hospital medicine, and public health leadership. She currently works for a Medicaid-based health maintenance organization and is adjunct faculty at the University of Michigan Medical School. I'm not going to read the whole slide, but just wanted to highlight Dr. Marshall's work with faith-based, community-based, and healthcare organizations in Michigan and throughout the US, while delivering virtual town halls on COVID-19 prevention, vaccine hesitancy, and racial disparities. She's been on the front lines, just like many of you. So I give you Dr. Marshall. Dr. Marshall, I'm just going to queue up your presentation. Just 1 second, please.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, there you go.
All right. Okay, so it is my great pleasure and honor to be here with you all today. And I'm just going to spend a little bit of time just talking about the last year and a half, the last 20 months, and being frontline, essential, critical workers, the differences that you all have made in this fight of dealing with disparities and, quite frankly, everyday things related to the pandemic. And I also hope to impart to you some tips about staying safe as health workers, as well as some self-care strategies as well. So with that, let me just tell you a little bit more about myself that wasn't captured in my intro. And thank you, Jennifer, for the introduction. I'm a native of Detroit, first to graduate from college, first generation college graduate in my family. Growing up for me, Black kid in Detroit, young girl, seeing my loved ones, seeing family and friends and neighbors die in their 40s and their 50s, it seemed quite normal because that was what I saw. That was what I knew. It wasn't until I got older, studied a bit more, that I realized what I lived through, continue to live through, and what I had observed was not normal, and that it was health disparities. There were issues with health equity and social justice to account for the deaths and the devastation that those deaths caused on the community that I come from in Detroit, and so many communities like that, whether they be urban or rural or what have you. And my background, my experience, my lived experience lit a fire in me, really, to want to make a difference, to want to make the world a better place. And so that's why I went into public health. In going into public health, I first learned about community health workers when I was in Boston. First, I heard about a patient navigator program to help with colorectal screening among Latino populations. And then I met some folks, again, all in Boston, who were using community health workers to engage patients living with HIV and AIDS, and helping them to navigate through healthcare systems and barriers to help advance their health and to help with chronic disease management. I later relocated to Baltimore to do some more advanced training, and I really got much more of an intimate feel and perch to be able to view community health workers do their things. So in Baltimore, community health workers for the programs that I were involved in were doing amazing things with patients, community members with diabetes, with various cancers, including cancer screening and cancer follow-up. And so my respect for the field of community health workers in whatever name that others doing the same work go by, promotoros, lay health workers, community outreach workers, my respect as that little Black girl from Detroit, growing up in poverty, and seeing her loved ones die prematurely, but not knowing that that's what in fact was what was going on. That little girl, she thanks you all, and just really admire the difference that you make every day in the lives of people who oftentimes don't have a voice at the table. So next slide. So I don't need to tell anybody who can see me or hear my voice that the last 20 months have been some of the most challenging times of our lives. Who 2 years ago, who could have imagined we'd be dealing with a once in a century pandemic and the effects of the pandemic on causing a financial or economic drop, recession, affecting nearly every aspect of our lives as well, including worsening issues with food insecurity, housing insecurity, worsening issues with domestic violence and child abuse. Healthcare workers at one point being heroes, at another point being targets of the public ire. And then quite frankly, the burnout of trying to help others in the midst of also needing help ourselves. And all of this on top of what was going on pre-pandemic, because life, as we know, was not perfect before the pandemic, right? We were still dealing with an opioid epidemic, a suicide crisis, especially among our youth and our elders. Racial and ethnic health disparities were still rampant, right? With diabetes and cancer, issues with housing affordability, all of that was still there. And then here comes this pandemic, followed by this economic recession. And then just because that apparently wasn't enough, we were in the midst of a very divisive presidential election season that just only exacerbated everything. And again, if that wasn't enough, the racial reckoning, as has been called, really took center stage. and in taking that center stage, so much social unrest, and all of this at the same time. But yet you were and are considered an essential worker, critical. And even or despite whatever problems you may have been dealing with yourself, your health, your family, your loved ones, you still were expected to come and serve and help others. And it wasn't just an expectation. I dare say that those of us who do the work that we do to serve others, it's a calling, right? And with that calling, that desire, that need, that dedication to help others, even while we are ourselves in need, just is shown through. And it continues to show through. Next slide. And with that, I want to let it be on the record of saying thank you. Thank you for all that you've done before the pandemic and that you've been doing during the pandemic. Thank you for your advocacy, for your deep understanding of the needs of community members and marginalized populations. Thank you for your compassion, your dedication, and the relentless work to advance the health of others as well as their well-being. And thank you for the difference in the lives that you change for the better each and every day. Next slide. So in preparing for this presentation, I tried to find some things of encouragement, words of encouragement. And I also tried to find some models of what's going out across the country in advancing the field of community health workers. And I came across, and I actually came across this article on the CDC's page, because the CDC, the Center for Disease and Promotion, has a section devoted towards community health workers. This was before the pandemic and certainly during the pandemic, and the role that community health workers play. And so I found this white paper, a link to this white paper that was published last year in 2020. And the white paper, it's called The Role of Community Health Workers in Addressing Inequities and Systems Transformation During COVID and Beyond. And it really gets at an opportunity for health departments and other healthcare organizations to better integrate community health workers and what they bring to the table, what you bring to the table to help shape and inform policies within organizations and outside of organizations. And so this quote from Bernice Rumala, who is a former community health worker, a current community health worker ally, and someone who went on to get her PhD and continues to do phenomenal work in working with marginalized populations and being a community health worker ally. And so I want to share this quote with you. And the reason why it struck me, because I when reading it, I felt that highlighting the lived experience of community health workers and what that means and what's sitting at the table when decision making is going on, it tremendously has the potential to help affect change on, again, a systems level of organizations and how organizations do things and the policies that organizations make as it relates to how it can better serve community. And so sharing our lived experiences brings the oftentimes invisible, inequitable, and faceless issues to the forefront of the heart to promote change for those impacted by inequities. Our lived narratives are powerful tools for changing individuals, communities, institutions, and the world. We must engage the voices of non-traditional stakeholders, community, and the marginalized, and also use our voice, because therein lies the key for sustainable, equitable transformation. Next slide. And as far as affecting change through community engagement and that one-on-one relationship that you have with your clients, with your patients, with your fellow community members, with your family members, with your neighbors, that one-on-one relationship in affecting change, because change occurs on all different levels. It occurs on the system, at the system level, it occurs at the community level, and it also occurs within ourselves and how we are able to stay with continuing education about how to better do our jobs, about how to better be knowledgeable about communities we serve and how to serve those communities. And also change occurs with how we interact and serve our clients one-on-one, our patients one-on-one. And so at the beginning of this pandemic, back in March of last year, I had at that time had left clinical practice. So I wasn't walking around with a stethoscope on for the first time in like almost 20 years. I had also left formal public health. I was not, employed by the local public health department any longer, because I had the summer prior transitioned to working for a Medicaid-based health maintenance organization, a health plan. And I did that because I felt that I was having burnout and I needed to get a break from being pulled in all types of directions. I think it's fair to say that I had compassion fatigue. I had burnout. And so sitting at home working on my computer, because we were sent to work at home when the pandemic occurred, when it first came upon us in late February 2020, early March 2020. I'm working on my computer doing cases. And I had my television on, cable news, and in the background, I constantly was hearing about this unimaginable pandemic and the effect it was having on everyone. And I also was then hearing about the disparities, the racial disparities that were occurring across the country, and the same scenarios, marginalized communities, historically groups that historically had issues with health inequities, with racial discrimination. All of these groups was just hearing the same story of high deaths related to COVID, high hospitalizations related to COVID. And it was heartbreaking. And I personally felt especially helpless because I wasn't on the front line at that point. I wasn't in the hospital working. I wasn't seeing patients. I wasn't in the public health department helping to make decisions. I was at home doing cases on a computer. And I said, God, how can this be that for the first time in a long time, I'm not on the forefront and we are in the middle of a pandemic disproportionately affecting communities of color and communities that are marginalized, communities irrespective of race and ethnicity, communities with socioeconomic disparities and issues with access to care. How can it be that I'm at home and not on the forefront? And so anyhow, I wrote a letter, an op-ed, to our local paper about the disparities I was seeing, just like all of you. And because I learned a long time ago that it's not enough to just cite a problem, to name a problem, to express your concerns about a problem, if you can also give some thoughts about strategies and solutions, it makes for a stronger case. It makes for bringing more to the table when you are speaking. And so in expressing my concerns about the rampant racial disparities related to COVID-19, I talked about community health workers because, again, some years ago when I was in Boston and when I was in Baltimore, and even coming back here to the state of Michigan, I have always respected and admired the role of community health workers and the differences that community health workers make in the lives of marginalized and vulnerable populations. And so I talked about how, and you can't, I don't even think you can read this snippet of the article, but the link to it is there, as the case for all the slides I'm showing you. I talked about the strategy of employing community health workers, and why, because we know that community health workers can reach disproportionately impacted communities, and because of that, are so much better at disseminating information and being a trusted source of delivering information. And in this case, COVID-19 prevention information. And then also, because of that connection with the community, because of that deep understanding of community, also being able to, again, as a trusted person, distributing basic supplies. And again, this is back in April 2020. So I'm talking about, encouraging people to wear masks. We're still doing that today though, right? Encouraging people to wash their hands, to social distance, and supplies, distributing masks or handkerchiefs or hand sanitizers or what have you. And now here in 2021, this is the month of November, can't believe this year is almost over, community health workers still have a role. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but still have a role in helping to combat the disparities that we see in this pandemic, particularly with vaccination rates, because the disparities in communities of color and in marginalized communities, and irrespective of race or ethnicity, communities with social economic disparities. There are big issues, troubling issues with vaccination rates, disparities in those rates. And community workers, for all the reasons stated, can play a great part in helping to close that gap. Next slide. And so I told you at the beginning that I also wanted to impart some basic tips. I give a lot of public health talks about COVID protection, and we're well into this pandemic, and hopefully it will be over soon. But I still felt, it was worth mentioning that, this is taken straight from the CDC, community health workers, each and every one of you are essential, are critical workers. CDC says the provisions of critical services to the community disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, you're doing that. You're doing that. You're doing that. And you're often it's the case that you're closely interacting with members of the communities that you serve, and you can do this and better protect yourselves and the clients, patients, or your fellow community members if you know how to provide service safely during home visits, are ready to provide support to sick clients in a safe way, and can help prevent the spread of COVID by being aware of how to take these steps. Now, I don't know what your respective organizations have done thus far, and protocols and trainings to keep you safe. I'm not sure how much telehealth you guys are engaged in, but people are still sick. People are still in need of your services. And so doing it safely to make sure you protect yourselves and your families as best as you can so vitally important. Next slide. And the CDC, if you Google CDC, COVID-19, community health workers, you will see links to various helpful information regarding, personal protection, particularly when you're going into someone's home, and how to support sick clients or clients or patients with sick household members. And again, doing so that you are best protected from getting sick yourselves. Also, adapting your practices for COVID-19. Again, what role is telehealth having in the services you deliver? Stress and coping, compassion fatigue, secondary burnout or secondary trauma and burnout is huge. It was already a problem before the pandemic for a lot of us who serve communities in need. But this pandemic has, and all that's associated with this pandemic, has really accelerated for many of us stress and issues with coping with that stress. And lastly, the CDC has information about training and support to better do the work that you do. Next slide. And so, as I said earlier in this presentation, we're in challenging times, right? Well, for essential workers, the challenging times are affecting us too. It's affecting each and every one of us too, right? The disparities in deaths and hospitalizations, that also has affected so many of us. How many of you have had a loved one or someone who has died from COVID-19? How many of you have had to attend a funeral? And last year, oftentimes, with only a handful of loved ones being able to come into the room and doing ceremonies outside to stay safe. How many of you have had to do that? Mm-hmm. And how many of you have watched the news, particularly when the deaths were so rampant last year, and seeing bodies and bags of people who we know and who we love in hospitals being overwhelmed, and this crazy divisive political season last year. What effect was that having on you while you are yet being an essential worker and doing the work that you do? Oftentimes in dealing with our clients and our patients, our community members and family members in need, the issues of rising rates of domestic violence, rising rates of child abuse, right? That was something that touched us professionally, perhaps, or maybe even personally with family members and loved ones. Housing insecurity, being able to pay your mortgage, being able to pay your rent, your bills, your light bills, your water bills, food insecurity, making sure that you can cover food costs for the month. That might be something that a lot of our clients, our patients and fellow residents have had to deal with. But for some of us, that has also been the case too. And so being essential in challenging times that are also affecting us, it is not easy. And I'm sure many of you could share your experiences over the last 20 months and how you've managed to cope and you've managed to still be standing. And so I want to just quickly show 3 slides from the Kaiser Family Foundation. They, back in mid-2020, did an assessment of community health workers across the country and surveyed them, or I should say, surveyed essential health workers. So community health workers are within that group compared to non-essential health workers. And what they found was that 1 in 4 essential workers reported having difficulties affording basic household expenses. Next slide. What they also found was essential workers were less likely to say that they could afford a $500 unexpected medical bill. Next slide. And then they also found that there was actually similar shared responses from essential workers and non-essential workers in the self-reporting of having experienced an adverse health effect from worry and stress related to the coronavirus outbreak. Next slide. And when, you know, all this talk started about essential workers, well, when I saw this image, I thought, yeah, if we are essential, treat us as such, right? Treat us as such. Next slide. Another quote I want to share with you all. This is coming from Denise Octavia Smith. Not sure how many of you all are familiar with her, but she is the founder and executive director of the National Association of Community Health Workers, which is an advocacy group. I came across an article that she published in a national paper, US Today, earlier this year. And I was very intrigued by some things that she had to say. So this quote here, it is past time to recognize the underappreciated expertise and capacity of our community healthcare workers, many of whom are coping with immense suffering and an ever increasing need for their services. Next slide. And so the link to her article took you to a policy report from her organization, and she reports that she has interacted with over 100 fellow community health workers in 30 or so organizations. And this association's overarching goals is to promote the national professional identity of community health workers, leadership among community health workers, the capacity of CHWs and CHW associations, and guide integration of CHWs into larger COVID-19 response efforts and beyond. And there are a list of strategic objectives. I won't go through all of them, but what I will say is that I've been listening in this morning, and I mean, everything that I've heard all the speakers say thus far, I do see reflected in here, and I do understand that from community to community, state to state, community health workers are dealing with some of the same challenges, Next slide. And so one other quote I took from this article from Denise Octavia Smith was, with vision, we can transform our experiences during the pandemic into an authentic movement for health equity with adequately supported community health workers at the center. And I like to, summarize that by stating reclaiming your power. Reclaiming your power, reclaiming your power. Next slide. Next slide. Reclaiming your power in the midst of COVID-19. Indeed, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it, but it is a organization that is all about helping connect employers to those seeking to be employed, and also career development and coaching. And my last two jobs, actually, I found through Indeed. Anyhow, I came across an article that they put out about keeping a positive attitude as it relates to being in the midst of this pandemic and your job or your job search. But as far as for those of us employed, remember what's most important to you. Remember what's most important to you. Remember what's most important to you. The work that we do, it defines us. Hopefully it fulfills us. Not everyone can say that, but for those of us who can, what a blessing. And then even in doing this work of helping and serving others, we still have to remember what's most important to us: our own health, the health of our loved ones, the relationships we have with our loved ones, and putting things in proper perspective in our lives and what our priorities are can help us to stay positive. Practice patience. Again, before the pandemic, things were not so great for everyone. However, right now, being in the middle of the storm, having patience, some patience in the things that are not going as well as we would like with our jobs, can help sustain us mentally, but also looking at this time as an opportunity to really have a chance to affect change and shape the role of a community health worker is right here at our feet. And then stay healthy. Next slide. And so in terms of staying healthy ways to cope with stress, take a break from watching and reading or listening to news stories or cable news. I know I've had to do that many times. Make time to unwind and do things that you enjoy. Connect with others. Although, we've been on lockdowns and we've been told to socially distance, we still can connect with others. Me and several of my best friends, girlfriends, we met in a parking lot, a Kroger's parking lot on several different occasions late last year and early this year, because we missed hanging out, and so we, met at the parking lot and just kind of either sat in our cars or sat on top of our cars and just talked. I went to so many Zoom birthday parties and gatherings last year. I never would have thought that could be so fun. Connecting with your community or faith-based organizations also can be deeply helpful and helping us to cope with stress and taking care of your body. Something that I'm guilty of, even as a healthcare practitioner, I am guilty of not doing the self-care that I need. And so this is good for me, as hopefully this is helpful to you. Take deep breaths, stretch, meditate. Try to eat healthy and well-balanced meals. Exercise regularly. Walking is amazing. Walking is amazing and the effects that it can have on your health and also on your mental health. Get plenty of sleep. Avoid excessive alcohol, tobacco, and substance use. Continue with routine preventative measures like your mammograms, like your prostate exam screens and your colonoscopies as recommended by your healthcare provider. And get vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine if you have not already. And that's a whole nother conversation, right? Because if anyone as of yet isn't vaccinated, we need to have another conversation about that, right? And why? Why not? And why not? The bottom line is self-care is how you take your power back. Self-care, without it, how can we in the long term help care for others? Next slide. And here are some resources that you can find on the CDC's website. The link is at the bottom for food insecurity, housing. These are resources that you can use for your loved ones, the clients and the patients that you serve, and for some of us ourselves. Next slide. And anybody finding themselves in crises or people you're serving in crises, here are some other information that you can use, again, from the CDC. You can use this link at the bottom. This PowerPoint presentation hopefully can be shared with you all. And if that's the case, you can click on those links and get right to those resources. And then lastly, next slide. I love memes, and some of my friends, they tell me, would you stop posting all these memes on social media? But you know what? Sometimes you can come across a meme, or at least I can, and it can just move me. It can just move me so much. And I just want to leave these memes with you. I won't read them, but I'll leave it to you as a little gift. And hopefully you can find some inspiration from that. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I'll take any questions if there's time.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Marshall? Please, you can go ahead and put it in chat, or you can unmute yourselves. I just want to thank. Oh, go
This
ahead.
is Felicia. I just want to say thank you very, very much. That was awesome. Everything you said, it just hit home. It made me feel better. It made me feel like, okay, all right. I mean, it's like, do I send you a payment? You,
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it really helped me, and I hope it helped everyone else. So I want to just say thank you very much for everything that you said. Even when you started out, you said a little girl from Detroit, and I can understand that, and that hit home too. So thank you, and that hit home for a lot of my clients, and that's the vision and the hope that you give. I thank you very much. Yeah.
Getting a lot of kudos and thank yous, and so encouraging and motivating. Thank you, Dr. Marshall. I think one of the quotes on your slides resonates with me, and that was Bernice. I didn't catch her last name, but our lived narratives are powerful tools for changing lives. So that I wrote that down. That'll always stick with me. Thank you. If anyone does have questions for Dr. Marshall, you could always email info@michwa.org, and we can get those questions to Dr. Marshall. Or you can feel free to ask any or make any comments right now if you'd like. Okay.
I do have a question for Dr. Marshall, if it's okay. I was trying to, save the airspace for other people, but Dr. Marshall, that was a very powerful and moving presentation, and I appreciated it so much. I am someone who is an ally of CHW and supportive of CHWs. So I'm wondering, from your perspective as well, being in medical care and in administration, what kind of suggestions you might have for employers or other stakeholders and how they can support the resiliency of community health workers to enable them to do the hard work that is so draining in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that question. It's funny to me that question you've asked, I've heard it among teachers, K through 12 teachers. I've heard it in different sectors. How can we be better supported? How can resiliency be promoted? That are frontline, front-facing workers with the public, with community. And so for employers, things that can be done to help with promoting resiliency is just like, the slide from Indeed that I showed you all about we as employees being patient in these times, being patient with our jobs and some of the things we don't necessarily like about our jobs right now. The same should be said to employers. Have patience, if employees seem to be having a difficult time, and how might you know that? Maybe something's going on with their productivity. Maybe they're calling in more. Having patience and understanding, showing that they're not just someone who can be replaced, but that they are a valuable team member, and showing them by how it might be giving more paid time off, or it might be allowing for more flexible work schedules. It might be using more telehealth than in-person, face-to-face contact with clients or residents. Always increasing pay, that's always going to be, needed, right? Giving bonuses where you can. That is helpful. Doing appreciations, employee appreciation, highlighting the work that community health workers do, making opportunities for advancement. And also when employers are at their conferences or at their regional meetings about whatever it is they're meeting for, talk about community health workers, highlight the important roles that community health workers have in affecting change, in caring for marginalized and vulnerable populations. And in the midst of this pandemic, talk about the role that community health workers have played, but also who can play. We have rampant disparities with vaccination rates for marginalized communities, for racial and ethnic communities, for communities who might have political ideologies that put them against vaccines, but yet they're at high risk for complications too, because of chronic disease, because of poverty. Talk about how community health workers are an evidence-based strategy. The employment of community health workers are an evidence-based strategy to help mitigate and reduce disparities. That's how employers can help with promoting resiliency and supporting community health workers.
Thank you for that.
So this is Gloria Palmisano. Hello?
Hi, Gloria, we can hear you.
Okay, so thanks, Doc, for your wonderful presentation. I'm another ally, strong passion for CHWs for many, many, many years. I just really appreciate hearing you talk and the support that you're providing CHWs. And we really need people like you to help with this sustainability and all the work that's being done through MiCHWA, through the National Association of Community Health Centers, through the American Public Health Association Community Health Worker. It's not a SPIG anymore, but anyway, section. And I'm wondering, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering, are you involved lending your voice or in any way with any of, with MiCHWA or with the others? And I'm sorry if you are, and I'm not aware of it, but I think it would be wonderful for the CHWs to be able to hear how you might be able to contribute. You said you work at a healthcare facility or with a health plan. We need all the help we can in getting them to, they're doing some, but we could do more in hiring CHWs, supporting CHWs who are working in other, like federally qualified health centers, for example.
I was having some hearing difficulties. I think I caught the bulk of your question, but specifically you're asking me what have I done in my place of employment to advance the field? Is that what you're asking?
Not just your place. Are you working at all? I'm not sure why I'm getting this static. If you're working at all in supporting the work of MiCHWA, National Community Health Worker Association, or APHA CHW section.
Yeah, so I'm not doing any formal work. What I have been doing over the last year and a half is community outreach and talking directly to community members and healthcare providers about the racial disparities related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And when I do talk about community health workers, is as I did in the op-ed that I wrote last year, is I talk about community health workers being a strategy to help with mitigating. I have actually, at the state level, I am on a work group, a strategic infrastructure work group that feeds directly into the COVID how is it? It's the Disparities Task Force for the Coronavirus. And I know I said that wrong, but it is a task force that was commissioned by Governor Whitmer. It's chaired by Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, and it has really heavy hitters from across the state. And I, using my platform, which is not huge, I have definitely vocalized the employment of community health workers as a strategy to help with increasing vaccination rates, particularly among communities of color. Quite frankly, the last meeting that the last meeting that the task force had, which was I think a couple of weeks ago, I directly talked about community health workers because we were talking about the disparities in vaccination rates. So, so formally, no, I'm not doing anything. Informally, yes, always.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Marshall. It's now just about break time. Everyone's probably much in need of a break. Self-care, right? Let's all take care of ourselves and stretch our legs and heat up our coffee or tea. But before we do that, Portia has a couple of housekeeping items. Portia, would you like to go ahead?
Thanks, Jen. Okay, everyone, we're getting ready for our break. Just a few quick announcements. The first is if you are in the session and you are not registered for the conference, we are going to go into breakout rooms after the break that we take. And Monse is working behind the scenes diligently to ensure that everyone is in the correct breakout room. If we do not have your information or you're not registered, you're going to be in the main room all by yourself, and everyone else will be in the breakout sessions with our amazing speakers. So I need you to message Monse or put a message in the chat. Let us know your email, the name that you came into the conference under, so that Monse can reach out to you to make sure that we correct your registration status. Also, if there are any questions that you have for our presenters that were not answered, or any questions that you have for MiCHWA, please know that if you put them in the chat, we are monitoring it. We will also have a recording of the chat and we can reach out to you later. And for those of you who are interested in taking a post-attendee survey to earn your 3 CEUs that you can use toward recertification for your MiCHWA certification status, we will be putting a link to that survey in the chat closer towards the end of the meeting, along with a link to directions for that process, which are now listed on our website. And you will be receiving an email with that information also. So those are all of the announcements. Again, if you're not registered, we need your email, your name, and Monse will be reaching out to you. For now, we're going to take a break. And then Jen, it is 10:44. What time are we coming back?
Yes, we're going to give everyone an 11-minute break. We're going to come back at 10:55. Okay, so that's 11 minutes. So 10:55. All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you again,
everyone.
Dr. Marshall.
Again, if you're not registered, we're going to use this break time. So please message in the chat or message Monse so that she can use the next 11 minutes to make sure that your registration status is corrected. And we have a breakout session for you. Thank you.
Okay, if you can hear my voice, everyone, please start making your way back to your computers. You can turn your cameras back on. You can see your lovely faces. We'll give everyone a couple of minutes to get back to their computers and join us again for breakout sessions. Okay, it is 10:56. Hope everyone is back from their break and took care of themselves over the break with whatever you needed to do. It is just about breakout session time. I just want to reintroduce the breakout sessions that all of you who registered chose at the time of registration. Advocacy 101, whether a CHW or ally, what does it mean for your role? Self-care and coping with loss and grief, racial equity and implicit bias, and CHW leadership. How to get involved, how have you led in an untraditional way, and how have you taken your career further? Bethany is going to introduce our breakout room speakers. Bethany, are you with us? Can you hear your voice?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Bethany, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bethany. I'm an intern from Wayne State University School of Social Work. I'm just going to briefly introduce the breakout session speakers. So once you guys are all in your assigned breakout rooms, there'll be more of an introduction that kind of further tells you who your breakout session speaker is. So first we have Pansela Hardaway. She is the speaker for the breakout session for Advocacy 101, whether a CHW or ally, what does it mean for your role? Pansela is the executive director of MOSES, which is Metropolitan Organizing Strategy Enabling Strength. Octavia Smith is the speaker for the breakout session titled Self-Care and Dealing and Coping with Loss and Grief. Octavia is employed at Western Wayne Family Health Centers and is affiliate of the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan as a CHW care coordinator. For our racial equity and implicit bias, the breakout session speaker is Shani Saxon. Shani is a licensed social worker and psychotherapist and is the founder and executive director of Kids Turning Corners. And then we have Tressa Liba, who is the speaker for CHW leadership, how to get involved, how to lead in an untraditional way, how have you taken your career further. Tressa is a CHW who is the Community Health Improvement Coordinator at Mercy Health and is a former board president from MiCHWA and former MiCHWA co-chair, CHW co-chair for the Policy and Finance Committee. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you guys enjoy your breakout sessions.
Okay, Monsi, you ready to push everyone out into their breakout sessions?
Yes.
All right, everyone, we'll see you back on the other side. Enjoy your breakout sessions. Thank you.
Monse, I'm supposed to be in the coping. I'm supposed to be introducing the speaker.
All right, let me move you to there.
Hi, Monse. This is Socorro Rodriguez. I asked Portia at the beginning if I could have my audio transferred over.
Okay, let me just verify. I did put you in a breakout room. I just want to make sure it's still right now.
I'm on the 616-279-1659 number.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please, let me.
Hello. How are you, Monse?
Good. Thank
Is
you.
it just you and me in the main room?
No, everyone's back now.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're just going to wait for a few moments for everyone to return from the breakout sessions, and we appreciate your patience.
Are the breakout sessions recorded as well?
Yes, they were.
Okay, thank you.
And those will all eventually be available. So if you do have colleagues, supervisors, staff members that were unable to participate today, we do realize that there are vaccination clinics running, contact tracing being done. We do have CHWs in the field on a daily basis. So this will be recorded. We will post it in our CHW members only registry, and then also post it up on our YouTube channel, the MiCHWA channel on YouTube. So if you go over there and subscribe, you'll be able to see all those videos as they come up. So you can watch this conference or this meeting at a later date and then still have the opportunity to earn your 3 continuing education units towards your recertification. So that will happen sometime next week. We'll be sending out a link so that you can watch that recording and then still earn your CEUs.
Thank you very much, Portia, for that. And welcome back, everyone, into the general session. I hope you enjoyed your breakout room session. I enjoyed mine. God, that 45 minutes, that flew by. But that was very helpful, and it was nice to connect with each other by talking with each other and asking questions. We are not yet done with our annual meeting. We have a few more thank yous to give, and I'm going to pull up that slide right now. Okay. Everyone deserves a thank you for all their hard work this past year, including our wonderful board of directors here at MiCHWA. Many of them are founding members, and they come from these wonderful organizations that you see here on the slide: Henry Ford Health System, University of Michigan School of Social Work, MAHP, Spectrum Health, Michigan Minority Health Coalition, Hamilton Community Health Network. We have board of directors from MPAC, Isabella Citizens for Health, City of Detroit Health Department, Family Health Care, Northern Michigan Community Health Innovation Region, InterCare, and Riemann. So thank you all to our board of directors for all of your time and energy and your passion in keeping us invested in CHWs and their education, training, and workforce sustainability. Many of the board members are here today as well, so thank you. And you'll hear from one of our board members, our board president, Jay Clement, in just a couple of minutes. But next, we are going to get to an award. So Monse, you want to take it over?
Sure thing, Jen. So we are going to be recognizing the CHW recognition of this annual meeting, which is Prudy Foster, who is from Priority Health and was nominated by Nicole Schulten. And Prudy has been a CHW for 20 years. She always goes above and beyond for not only her, but her members and her fellow CHWs. Prudy invests in the development of other CHWs and is passionate about the field of work. A few months ago, after she started at Priority Health, Prudy took the initiative to create a CHW monthly meetings where CHWs from across the organization meet up. She hosts representatives from community-based organizations to present on services they offer and how they could assist the members that are being served. She is an amazing teacher and mentor, so congratulations, Prudy Foster.
All right, would anyone like to come off mute and congratulate Prudy Foster?
She's actually on, I think, sorry.
Prudy, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I did not know this was happening.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, huh?
Congratulations.
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 You're awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Speech.
Thank you, is all I can say. I did not know any of this was happening, so thank you very much.
Is your nominator on the call as well, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay.
I sure am. Thank you, Prudy, for all of your amazing work. You're so appreciated.
I see my name and I'm like, Prudy, there's not very many Prudies. And I'm like, that's my name. So thank you very much. Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
So
welcome.
Congratulations.
All right, continuing on. Monse.
So if anyone else would like to take on a leadership opportunity, we do welcome you all to join our work groups and committees. Here are some of you: the educational workforce, CHW policy, the evaluation work group, and then the communications work group and the CHW network. So we do invite you all. If you need more info, please email us at info@michwa.org for that.
Great, thank you, Monse. And at this time, do we have Jay? I see Jay there. Would you like to make a few comments, Jay?
Sure. And I always appreciate being, right before lunch so that everybody's anxiously waiting for me to finish. But I will keep it brief. I want to really, as I'm wrapping up my first year as the board president for MiCHWA, and it has been an immense honor and growth opportunity for myself, and being in this journey and just reflecting on the meeting that we had today and this past year and the years that I've been involved with MiCHWA. I'm really filled with gratitude. And that is gratitude for all of you for being a part of MiCHWA in whatever shape, form, or fashion that comes in. If it's just participating in this meeting or being on one of our work groups or volunteering, all of our speakers and our guests today, we thank you. And I really, really, really want to give the most gratitude and thanks. If I could just pour it out and let it sprinkle down on the MiCHWA staff. You all are amazing. You have really embodied the spirit of resiliency that we've tried to lift up and celebrate today. You are tenacious, you are flexible, you are adaptable, as one of our CHWs, Mike Anderson, always says. And to come through all of what we've come through, it is because of the MiCHWA staff. So everybody, please, if you see one, hug them or just give them a high five right now. The MiCHWA staff is amazing. I'm just filled with gratitude for all you all are able to do. Just also reflecting on our conference theme and the speakers that we've heard today, I have so many notes and thoughts and things to follow up with, multiple people have mentioned that 2021, we thought 2020 was a doozy. Well, 2021 did not disappoint either because of all the uncertainty and change and opportunities to demonstrate our resiliency. So I'm immensely proud of what MiCHWA and all of you have been able to accomplish together. We do have an annual report that will be published, and all of these accomplishments are detailed there. So we want you to get it and read it as soon as it's available on our website, but I'll just preview some of those things. I got notes everywhere, sorry. You guys were full of information today. So we've continued to advance our policy discussions with the state of Michigan and are getting closer to figuring out one level of sustainability with reimbursement and Medicaid funding for CHW services. Our training model was adapted to accommodate the needs of employers and community health workers across the state. We've increased the number of community health workers who are in our registry as certified to 790. So almost to 800. It would be great to break 1,000 and have a big party for that. We've added more CEU opportunities within our registry. There are some that have already occurred and some that are in progress right now. So we encourage you all to check those out. There was a core of CHW ambassadors created to assist with addressing health disparities throughout the state. And you heard a lot earlier about our CHW employer survey and our CHW survey, and we're using these tools to leverage and continue to do this good work that we have to do. We know that there is still so much more that we need to accomplish, and the compassion fatigue is real. The Zoom fatigue is a thing. So we want to really underline the importance of self-care. And I feel like I just keep quoting CHWs who I have the pleasure of working with. So Ms. Lane is always saying, who's going to advocate for the advocates? And that is what MiCHWA is here to do. We want to be the advocates for the advocates. We want to do the hard work on your behalf and in partnership with you and follow your lead in making this change happen through our lived experience, using our collective voice, and really advancing our policy goals, our sustainability work, the CHW workforce development, employer engagement and support. There's still a lot of work to do, and I know that this is the right group of people to do it. And I am also extremely excited to share that we have new leadership in place that will help lead us in this journey. Ta-da! Miss Tressa Liba, who many of you already know and have worked with or had the pleasure of meeting today in the breakout session that she led. I'm going to read her bio really quickly. And then if Tressa wants to come off mute and say anything, I will let her do that. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Tressa. So Tressa Liba is a seasoned MiCHWA certified community health worker with over 17 years in the community health profession. She is experienced in providing direct service and program coordination of a high-risk pregnancy program. She has 8 years of supervising a team of home visiting community health workers working with chronic disease, high-risk pregnancy, geriatrics, infectious disease, and school-based populations. Ms. Liba is a former board president for MiCHWA and the former MiCHWA CHW co-chair of the Policy and Finance Committee. She is almost done, if not currently wrapping up her master's in social work and a master's in public administration from Aurora University. And we are immensely pleased to see her trajectory and to have her fill this seat in this role. So Tressa, if there's anything you'd like to add, the floor is yours.
Well, I could cry right now. So thank you so much. Number one, I know that MiCHWA has a phenomenal board that loves CHWs, loves this workforce, is committed to the workforce. And all my years in coming to the MiCHWA conferences and participating, I could never have foreseen that this opportunity would come up for me. But as Jay said, MiCHWA's role is to advocate for the advocates, and who better to advocate for us but us, right? And so what a great opportunity to serve my family. This is our work to do. And so I'm just so delighted. What a wonderful team. Everybody's sending shout outs to MiCHWA staff, amazing. Amazing, everyone that has contributed to bringing MiCHWA this far. And I am so honored to be able to help us go the next leg of the journey. So thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I just want to encourage you all to be involved in whatever way you can. The way, we just heard about all the work groups you can join. There are leadership opportunities. If you want to get involved first and discuss becoming a leader later, we're open to that. We want you to continue to support the MiCHWA website that was updated and revamped last year, and it's very user-friendly and full of information for you all. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and I think that's all that we're on. I think there's a slide with all of the links. Yeah, Nicole is always updating our social media. If I can just like really, the MiCHWA staff are phenomenal. Jen has stepped into a leadership role. She's been a leader since she's joined us, but she's really, really done so much to, you know, carry the load in so many different ways. And we are forever grateful and indebted to her leadership and tenacity. Portia, really, you know, the passion and the care and the, you know, just detail that goes into the registry work and the training. It's, if I just keep going, we'll be here all day, and it is a minute to lunch. So Summer and Monse and Kyler and who, am I forgetting anybody? Nicole, thank you.
Bethany.
And Bethany, oh my goodness, so many emails from Bethany in the past week, being patient with me. So thank you, Bethany. You all are amazing. And all of my fellow board members. I hope you feel as good about the trajectory of MiCHWA as I do right now. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you so much, Jay. And thank you everyone for taking time out today and joining us. Hope you all had a great, enjoyable annual meeting, and we'll see you here next year, if not before.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Teresa, where's the barbecue?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to see.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
This was wonderful.
Stay safe.
Be safe, you all.
Stay safe.
All right,
Have a good
great.
weekend, everybody.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
I'm serious. When is the barbecue?
Bye-bye.
Good job, Patricia.
To get some for you.
Congratulations, Tessa.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tessa.
See you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Great job, guys. You did such a phenomenal job. Really appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste.
Thank you, Celeste.
MiCHWA did a
No
wonderful job.
problem.
Keep us on task and everything. Thank you, MiCHWA team.
Oh, thank you, Miss Octavia. You were a big part of the meeting today. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys. I don't know if you guys heard, but I just heard people are calling me and texting me like, you know, that Joelle is out. You know, I don't know if you guys know about Joelle Jones, state representative. That's my son. So we're happy that he's out. He has been released.
Oh, good for you. Yay.
Congrats,
Good
Octavia.
news. Hope everyone has a great weekend.
It's a beautiful day. The weather looks beautiful. I haven't been outside in it, but it looks beautiful.
It does.
Sun is shining and everything.
Oh,
Yes,
well,
the sun
I'm
is
in
out.
the west side of the state and we don't look that pretty. So it's coming.
Pretty over here.
Dum da dum dum.
And you're missing it, Miss Celeste. It's beautiful over here.
Oh no, it's dark and gloomy and gray over here. So
Oh,
I would say
no.
whatever we got, it's coming your way. So enjoy the sun. Definitely.
Must be.
Thank you guys so much once again. Do something kind to yourself and stay healthy and safe out there. Have a great weekend.
Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you, Celeste.
Celeste, thank you. You too.
Bye.
Thank you.